Destiny 2 is a free-to-play, online-only, multiplayer, science fiction, first-person shooter. Players like you and I had to pay for this game back in 2017, all the way up until October 1st, 2019, which the game was released on Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 5, Stadia. What I can tell you is that I did not jump in at the right time. I should have jumped into Destiny 2 right when it became free to play. Because this is not only a mechanically smooth first-person shooter experience, it's got a lot of depth to it in terms of the environment, how far you can go really, and how much content is just free. Just flat out free. Those words cannot be disagreed with in any culture or walk of life. You hear the word free, I don't care who you are. You're interested, right? Well, a lot of people aren't, for the simple fact of there's so many microtransactions, but they elude your vision in most of the regard here. Most of the time, it's an expansion pack or something, you know, to expand upon the baseline of the game. The point of the game at which you can grind, yeah, you can play this game forever for free, but there is a point at which you hit this wall. Perhaps not a wall, but you hit this point where you continually do the same repetitious task. Although it is not committed horribly here by Destiny 2, it has been committed by others, and I'll tell you right here and now, as a free-to-play game, Destiny 2 should not be complained about. Back in the day when you had to pay for this, yeah, I'd have a big problem with the repetitious game loop, but not so much as the original Destiny. This game holds your hand when you need a hand-holding session, but at the same time, you can just get right into it, go in blind, and enjoy the game from tip-top to base level. Honestly, if I jumped in back in the day, I would care more about the lore. Simply put, as a first-person shooter experience, there's a lot of lore here. There's a ton of story to be told, but none of it feels really grounded. Like, they're telling me the stories, and I hear them, but it's all hearsay and I don't really see much going on. I know a lot of the content at this point has been cut out, and a lot of the story and lore elements, well, they've just fallen by the wayside and put in the content vault, as Bungie describes. The developer Bungie really hit it home when it comes to this first-person shooter design. From sliding around to overall just being able to knock the hell out of your enemies with this overpowered magic-style melee attack that just blasts everything in every direction. Not just really so much magic elements, but elements of explosive, otherworldly effect. From what I've learned of my journey through Destiny 2 so far, is that we take on the role of the Guardian, protector of the final city of humanity. Fundamentally, you're fighting against intergalactic and interdimensional creatures on a regular damn basis. If I had to put it to a word, this threat feels a lot like Halo's enemies, from the hunters to the elites, down to the grunts and the jackals. It does feel like there's one of each here, but there's also a wide variety of enemies throughout that do feel compelling, like they actually think and harness their strength to elude battle if they have to. Like this guy I'm currently fighting, I don't get to get the kill. I don't take him down completely. He runs away like a coward does. And this is my first time on the moon, so I feel like I'm pretty much in charge at this point. Usually I'll immediately engage in combat when I drop into a new location just to see how serious we have to get. And so far on the moon, it's pretty relaxed, but it's also my favorite environment to just look at and engage with in a artistic fashion. I feel compelled to actually explore and find things, unlike most games with an overbloated open world that doesn't need to exist. This one feels right. As far as choice in this game, you have the choice between three classes: Hunters, Warlocks, and Titans. I chose to play as the Hunter class, specifically because it sounded faster than the others. The gunslinger element does feel quite nice when you're busting out your special and there are just 30 enemies in front of you waiting to get chopped up. by this extremely powerful class. I feel like I'm in charge on the battlefield, whether I'm with people or not. I feel like I can do damage alone as this class. I didn't get to play as warlocks or titans. I feel like this is my base class. This is how I should have started the game in the first place. And as such, I did. As far as what I can do, the throwing knife element of throwing these crazy incendiary knives at enemies feels snappy, feels nice. And I like the grenade element, being able to customize your grenades and your class so much. It's pretty awesome. Like, just thinking about how many different elements I could combine to make my character just OP. Especially later on, I can imagine just how much chaos could reign when it comes to these huge, crazy boss battles. I mean, I have fought like one dungeon master, I think, whatever you would call it. It was a serious bullet sponge, but at the same time, I enjoyed the combat because it felt like I had to dynamically defend, engage in combat, disengage, revive my teammates. I had to be revived once, and it felt like something was at stake. Our lives mattered in that battle, and damn, we did it. Although I don't have that footage to share because it was just too large of a file, I can tell you that it was one hectic battle to be in. As far as controlling my Guardian, I feel great all the time. How fantastic it feels to be able to slide around and engage in combat in ways that just definitively make sense. This is what Halo Infinite probably should have been, because that game has great controls, and this one has great controls too, but the open world design and the price is just inarguable. I cannot argue with this. The only things I would have to say regarding the controls and understanding them and some things that got in my way are the UI and fundamentally the free-to-play elements. I'm kind of confused on what I should even grab, what I should even buy. It's like some things I almost feel compelled to put money in the game for, but I really never do that. So at the end of the day, they can try to get my money, but I really don't intend to put money into this game. Only for an expansion pack would I, and they're on sale, but I'm still hesitant because I don't know how much of this game I could play and enjoy freely. I feel like there's so much here that I could just play it for free and enjoy it that way until maybe the next iteration, something like that. Also, the element of overwhelming information to new players is outright mind-boggling. Like, if you try to understand this from a fresh perspective and you're coming into the game not knowing anything, good luck. Some of the text they give you to read would take me way too much time, and I feel like a lot of people feel like time is money, and time may be valuable, and you can spend money in this game. You cannot understand the lore without taking a lot of time, and like I mentioned earlier, there is some cut content here that will just leave you breathless. It's like they actually put their content into a vault. I'm not sure as to why, but this is how it is now, and what we get is what we get. What I mean by some of the lore is pretty much beyond understanding, is the cutscenes, the actual battles that take place have been removed from this game and placed into Bungie's vault. I have no idea as to why this was done, but when I learned that, I really found myself understanding why I don't have an understanding of this game. It's like, yeah, you can give me text on the screen and tell me all these different things to do and how these battles happened and this war happened, but if I don't see it on the screen, I'm not really perceiving it in a way that would, be informal. Like, I'm not soaking it in like a sponge. It's more like there's way too much information I'm sinking as far as I can go. But this game is worth the money, which it's free. The only thing you have to endure is a repetitious gameplay loop, and I feel like some of the games we play just have that non-stop. Say Silent Hill or Stardew Valley, you're opening doors and you're looking for different rooms, or you're literally just farming for the rest of your life. Those games are awesome to me, fantastic little titles. Some of them are fantastic big titles. But with Destiny 2, I feel like it falls right in the middle of all that. Like, it's not the most expansive and unbelievably mind-blowing first-person shooter experience, But if you're into smooth first-person shooters, which this is, it is one of the most smoothest, if not more smooth, than all of the Halos at this point. Especially in regards to the vehicles. I didn't touch on this much, but I do feel like the vehicle control in this game is quite perfected. I would even say the enemy vehicles are more advanced than all of the Halo Infinite vehicles. I may not be flying a Banshee, but at least the control feels right for what this is. And what this is a great free-to-play experience that I would suggest to basically anyone who enjoys first-person shooters or science fiction. There's not only thought-provoking gameplay, but the characters compel. It's just too bad that their lore is too deep and somewhat insignificant to the events that actually take place in front of the player. There aren't too many cons to a free-to-play title, but if anything that gets in my way would be occasionally the UI is a little bit much. Finding out exactly what they want me to do that doesn't cost money. Sometimes they pop up a little, hey, buy this type of situation, almost like an advertisement for their own product. But that doesn't happen too often, and thankfully they're not putting it in my face all the time that I have to buy some in-game currency. Because that brings me down, and you know what? This is the right way to do free-to-play. Until next time, ta-ta.